He explained how it works. It was never designed to be as a test, and he claims it doesn't work. It creates too many false positives. The finished. Okay, so let's see the Halakha Gemara. So yesterday we got up to a score that the Rebbeinu Shalom had to settle with Gavriel HaMalach, because Gavriel HaMalach, we'll call him the fire marshal of Shemayim. He wanted to jump in to save Avram Avinu in Ur Kasdim. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, Avram Avinu to Yochid by Lamai, Ama Yochid by Lami. I want to be the one to say, it's appropriate that I should save Avram. But, you're going to have your turn to shine. And that's going to be, by Avram's great-great-grandchildren, you're going to save them. When Hananya, Mishal, Vazariah were thrown into the Kivshan Eish, the Malach who was in charge of hail, his name is Yurkamu, he said, listen, I'm hail, I have ice, I have ice, I have water, I'm the best person to go cool off the ovens. And Gavriel said, no. It's a much bigger nace if the Sarshal Eish cools down the fire, because that's completely counterintuitive, and that shows the godless of the Rebbeinu Shalom even more. And the Rebbeinu Shalom told Yurkamu, stand down, because Gavriel is going to come to the rescue. And that's why the Emes Hashem La'olam, rather than it have been the chorus that Chananya, Mishal, Vazariah said, really, the Malach Gavriel said it, proclaiming that Hashem stuck to his word and gave him his opportunity. There's an interesting Marsha that describes in a little bit more detail of what happened. And what happened was Yurkamu said, there's two jobs that have to be done today. A is I need to cool off the fires and extinguish the fires that are going to be burning Hananya, Mishal, Vazariah. But the secondary thing that happened was the people who threw them into the fire, they got burned. So that will also be a counterintuitive nace, that me, the sire of Borod, that's ice, I'm going to burn somebody. You have that chiddush. On that, Gabriel said, we need to have the biggest chiddush at the main focus of the mission. The main focus of the mission is to save Hananya, Mishal, Vazariah. That's where it'll be it'll show more of the greatness of the Rosh Hashanah if the Sar Shalish actually cools off the fire. It's interesting enough, if anybody ever read about how they put out the fires in oil wells, you know how they put out the fires in oil wells, when the oil well's on fire? They have these huge fires, right? Because it's the pressurized oil is being shot into the air, it's on fire. The way they put it out is they actually create an explosion, because an explosion requires so much oxygen to fuel that instantaneous combustion that it depletes the fire of oxygen. And after an explosion, there's a couple of seconds where there's no fire at all. And in those couple of moments, they quickly cap the well. So it's interesting how the Rosh puts it into the Sar Shalish actually could cool down fires by depleting oxygen.
So where was Yurkavu when Avram Avinu was in Kivshan Eish?
He woke up late.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, that's a good question. Where were you when we needed you? Okay, Zok the whole Halakha Gemara fighter. Rav Nosson Omer, another version. It wasn't Gabriel and it wasn't Hananya, Mishal, Vazariah. Who said it? Dagim Shem B'Yamamhu. The fish were saying Hashem is emes. Hashem stuck to his word. What was the deal that the Rebbeinu Shalom had with the fish? K'Ravuna, Dom Ravuna, Yisrael Sheba Oisadar, Klal Yisrael, in that generation. Good morning, Frank. Yisrael Sheba Oisadar, Mikatne Amanahayu. They didn't have Amunah, so the Yidden Bishas Kriyas Yamsuf didn't have Amunah. I have a whole shtickle on that, but it's brought down that at the beginning of Parshas B'Shalach, it says Vehi B'Shalach Parasam L'Nochem Elakim Derech Eretz Plushtim Ki Karvu Ki Amar Elakim Penyin Chaim Alam B'Reishim B'Chama B'Shavu B'Trayma Yasev Hashem Elakim Es Adam Derech Yamsuf. And then after the whole shtickle, it says V'Chamushim Olu B'nei Yisrael B'Eretz Mitzrayim. Question is, the Torah told us the whole story, and then at the end it says, by the way, when they left Chamushim. Shouldn't have it said Chamushim right away, Vehi B'Shalach Parasam, And then get into the story. What's this delay? And then it throws in this extra tidbit of information 3 psukim later. On the flip side, by the women, when they sang Shira, Rashi asks, where did they get 2 women Chaylos? So Rashi says, Betuchim hayu tatkonius, that they would see Nisim, so they packed along instruments because they knew they would have to say Shira. So I heard from Rav Radinsky a beautiful pshat. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to avoid Derech Eretz Plishtim? He had to avoid Derech Eretz Plishtim because Klal Yisrael didn't have Emunah. And therefore they were afraid if they would run to Muhammad, they'd run back to Mitzrayim. How did the Rebbeinu Shalom know that Klal Yisrael didn't have proper Emunah? Because V'chamushim Alu B'nei Yisrael Me'et Mitzrayim. They packed AK-47s and RPGs and M16s. The women packed guitars and drums and flutes and all types of musical instruments, and the men packed AK-47s and M16s. So you tell me who has more Emunah. So that's that explains all the previous psukim why HaKadosh Baruch Hu could not take them to Eretz Plishtim. So Klal Yisrael from the Tiny Emunah until after Kriyas Yamsuf, and we'll see what happened over here. Now Kriyas Yamsuf, we know, didn't cross the Red Sea. They actually ran parallel to the shore, and they came back on to the same shore that they left from. Rabbi Bar Murray, there was a merida, there was a rebellion by Klal Yisrael to the Rebbeinu Shalom by the nays of the Yamsuf. What happened? They said, just like we're coming out on the same side of the Yamsuf that we went in on, the Mitzrayim will also come out from a different place. They'll break out of the Yamsuf and they'll come get us because we didn't cross. We went through. They can come right back out. So Klal Yisrael, even during the awesome days of Kriyas Yamsuf, they still weren't totally convinced that they could rely on the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Yes, just want to. They were never intended to go derech Eretz Plishtim. It says by the sneh that you're going to serve me on this mountain in Har Sinai. They had to go to Har Sinai first. So derech Eretz Plishtim was never an option.
So what's pshat in the psukim?
If you want a pshat, it means kikaravhu, because it was too soon. Too soon to get him there. Like Bakarav in Hebrew, he said Bakarav, it's soon. That's
Too soon to go there.
Yeah. So anyway, so you can't argue. It Mamish says at the snad that first you're going to serve me. That's a simon that the Rebbeinu Shalom gave. So derech Eretz Plishtim was never an option. Just want to inform you on that.
And why is that? So what's the Peninachim Ha'am? It was never an option because of that?
Okay, because they weren't ready yet to go to Eretz Yisrael. And I can Nachamam.
Peninachim B'Rosh Milchama. So
yeah, okay. I don't know. Yeah, but it was, so that was the cheshbon even at the sneh. The Rebbeinu Shalom had that cheshbon at the sneh.
But maybe the Rebbeinu Shalom knew already at the sneh that
that's what I'm saying. That cheshbon was already in the sneh. So therefore, it was never intended that they go first derech Eretz Plishtim.
I hear. Okay. But that was all based on the fact that the Rebbeinu Shalom knew in advance that they wouldn't have the proper emunah.
That's right.
Man, that really is encouraging.
The
Rebbeinu Shalom knew we never stood a chance.
Listen, after 210 years of hard labor and, many years of davening, and nothing ever came through. So, you can have your doubts a little bit. I don't blame them.
So, I remember when I challenged my G1 license, which is the gas license that allows you to service up to any size gas burner. So I didn't go through the normal channels. I challenged it. So I remember when I challenged it, so it's a one-on-one with one of the government inspectors. So he tells me, I don't know why you're challenging this. I'm doing this for 25 years. Nobody ever passed. That's the guy tells me. So that really makes me feel confident. After he charges me $600 for the test. First he takes the money from me, and then now it's irrevocable. So, by the way, I don't know why you're doing this. Nobody ever passed before. Because of what I don't like to get touch. I passed.
We passed?
Passed. Yeah, I did pass.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, at the end of the test, I did very well on everything, and there was one question that I was struggling with. So he was saying, "No, Joe, you got to do it. You got to do it." Like he was starting to root for me already because you came so far, nobody came so far. You got to do it, and I passed. Amal Afanov, Rebbeinu Shalom, Klum Yesh Eved, Shenoisin Lo Rabbi. Oh, I'm sorry, I went back. So what happened was, it's Amal Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Shar Shel Yam, so Hashem Shel Hashem Moichem Tzvi. You're safe because you have that barrier. So we're on Daf Kufi with Chesman base. So the boy said to the Shar Shel Yam, spit him out. I want you to demonstrate to Klal Yisrael that the Mitzrayim are dead. Amal Lefanav Rebbeinu Shalom, Klum Yesh Eved, Shenoisin Lo Rabbi Matana, V'Choyzev V'Noitel Mimenu. Is there an Eved that's is there an Adam that's an Indian giver? You gave us such a windfall of food. The fish are in a feeding frenzy. We have thousands and thousands of Mitzri soldiers. This is and now you're going to take it away from us? Can you imagine the food's on the table and then you're like sucking it out from underneath us? How can you do this to us? Amar Loi, the Baruch Hu told him, don't worry. Etin loch echaru mechto sheben. I'm going to pay you back with a 50% premium. And they talk about in the Achronim, it's ribis. But the teretz is, everyone's Eved to the Rebbeinu Shalom, Mashakana Eved Kana Baila. So it's not shot, I'm giving ribis. He was giving them a bonus, but it wouldn't be technically ribis because it's all the Rebbeinu Shalom. Besides that, it probably is not fair either. Huh? Besides that's fair, it's probably not fair either. That's right. That's right. So he said, give it back to me and I'll pay you back. Amr Loi, what do you mean you'll pay me back? Yesh Evish Tevesh Rabbi, do you think I'm going to have the guts to go to you and say, you owe me food? Nobody ever would dare do that. So normal chayv, I understand. The Malva will have the strength to go to the Leiva and demand payment. But you can't express a down payment. So I don't want to lend you money in a situation where there's no way I'll be able to ever demand you repay me. Amaloi, this Yam was a tough negotiator. Amar Loi, Hashem told him, no problem. Nachal Kishain Yehei Li Arab. Nachal Kishain will be an Arab for me. What does that mean? We'll soon see. Miyad, the Yam was happy with that arrangement. Palatos Liyabasha. They spit out all the Mitzrayim onto the Yabasha. Uva Yisrael V'ro Oison Klal Yisrael Sa Chenemar V'ya Yisrael S'Tzrayim Meis Hasvasa Yom My Echaru Mechzo Sheben. So what does it mean that Kodesh Baruch Hu paid them back with a 50% premium? Zog the Gemara Dil B'Pariksiv Sheish Meyosh Rechav Bacher. There were 600 chariots. Vilu B'Sisraksiv Teisha Meyosh Rechav Barzal. So you clearly see they got upgraded from 600 to 900. So that's a 50% increase. Kiyosha Sisra, when Sisra came, and this is when the repayment occurred, also Alayu the Dakri the Parzala. Sisra's army came with metal spears. Hashem took the stars out of their sheath and overheated the army of Sisra. From Shemayim the Kechavim were acting in war. Even in the Chisu, Shemayim Alayu, the moment that they were baking in the Kechavim, Akdiru Hani Dakri the Parzala, their spears became very hot to touch. Nachisu Likrure, Lemischin Avshayu, Benachal Kishon. So if all the metal they're holding is becoming too hot to handle, they decided they'll go into the river Kishon to cool off. So as soon as they got in there, that's literally like a mouse being attracted by that peanut butter in the mouse trap. Slam down. Leich v'hashlim ervoinach. Go get him. Miyad garfam nachal kishain v'shlichlan liyam. The nachal kishain swept him up, and as rivers do, dumped him into the ocean. And then the fish had their feeding frenzy. Shenemar nachal kishain. I'm surprised the fish didn't say bis to the kretschme daf men och ben alachayim. I wonder how they survived until then. But so it says nachal kishain garfem nachal kedumim. So nachal kishain was referred to as the nachal from earlier times. My nachal kedumim, it's nachal shenase arev mikedem It's a river that already was designated as the collecting force from way back when, the Shas Kriyas Yamsuf. So at the time when the fish got paid back in such a big way, so now we have three versions of who said Be'emes Hashem Lo'olam. Either it was Chananya, Mishal, Azariah, or it was Gavriel, or it was the fish at the time when Sisera's army was swept up in Nachal Kishon. I was made the Akeres Abayis. So we always stop try this. We became the main. It's a positive comment, but the Gemara Darshans hear it differently. Amar Knesset Yisrael Fnei Baruch Hu Rebbeinu Shalom. When your children do averis and they're not machshav Torah and they're not machshav the mitzvahs, samuni banecha kachul dazu hadara beikribatim. They make the leaders of Klal Yisrael like weasels who live underneath. In other words, they're not raised up; we're pushed down. Doresh Rava, Ma'idich Hafti. I like it. Ki Yishma Hashem, when Hashem listens to me. Amar Knesset Yisrael, Rebbeinu Shalom. Emes Anehu B'Lefanecha. When am I beloved? When do I feel beloved by you? If you listen to my tefillos, then I feel beloved by you. Amar Knesset Yisrael L'fnei Kodesh Baruch Hu. Rebbeinu Shalom. Even though I don't have mitzvahs, I belong to you. I love you, and therefore the Rebbeinu Shalom save us merely because we identify with you. We're your Amanifchar. Even though we're not doing our job, we still want you to save us. We're still yours. So our dedication to you is what makes us worthy of you saving us. Omer Rav Kahana, Kishachala Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosy. When Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosy got sick, Shalach Loi Rabbi sent to him a message. And Mar Lanu Shnai Mishloisha Dvarim Shamart Lanu Mishom Avicha. Please tell us some nice things that you heard from your father Rabbi Yosy. And the Rashbam brings down, this happened a lot of times in Shas. Rashbam says, "B'habra mekayis b'Shas Matzinu Sheshalach LeRabbi Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosy b'Chol Yakein." So Vadvarim Sheishav Lekan Lahishav LePramacheres, and each time the answer is different, which would indicate that these were all different occasions. The Shemach Leim Harbe Chala Rabbi Shmuel. Maybe Rabbi Shmuel got sick many times, and every time he got sick, they asked him, and each time he said over something differently from Rabbi Yosy. Or Inami Kula Neshivim Pamachas. It was one sickness, and he told over a whole bunch of things from Rabbi Yosy. But the Gemara, when they relate the story, it was Shas Sidron b'Mesechtes Kolachas Al Makoima, and the Gemara only tells us each story that he said over relevant to the subject matter discussed in that Gemara. I don't know. The Rashbam is down. There's a lot of different things he said. He doesn't list off exactly how many.
Would that be 2, 3, or 5?
I don't know. It probably just means whatever you can muster up. So let's see what it says over here. This is what my father said. What do you mean all the goyim are thanking Hashem? We thank Hashem. They should thank Hashem. They'll praise Hashem for the great things that He did that they noticed. We have to say Shira, the Govar Aleinu Chastoi, because Rebbe Hashem does the most chesed for us. So, because they know the plans that they made, that they conspired against us, that didn't work out, right? So that's not going on this capital. It's going on Malchei Eretz Chol Umim and the Halalukas. But the same thing, they know more about the nisim that occurred to save us than we do, because we don't even know all the different plans that they had against us. That's right. I was thinking that as well. Gemara Viter. Amr Loi, they told him, V'oid Chada, one more. Asida Mitzrayim Shetavi Dorin LeMashiach. When Mashiach comes, Klal Yisrael is going to be at the pinnacle of society. So everyone's going to want to bring gifts. So the land of Mitzrayim will want to bring a gift to Mashiach. Kisover, they expected that Ein Makabel man, that we wouldn't accept a gift from the Mitzrayim. They were our tormentors. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's called Wiedergut machen. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, the Mashiach, Kabel mehen, you should accept the gift from the Mitzrayim. You know why? Achsanya asu levana b'Mitzrayim. The fact is, It might have been a COVID hotel that they had no choice, they had to go to, but it was a hotel. They were in Echsanya. Miyad Yasoch Hashemana Mini Mitzrayim. So let's see the little pasuk inside, because it's a beautiful pasuk, and we're going to dash no more. Mehechalecha al Yerushalayim l'cha yovilu malachim shoy. To you, the malachim of the world are going to want to bring you presents. So Yashoch Hashemanim Mitzrayim, the Hashemanim from Mitzrayim, they're going to bring, and then the pasuk goes on. Kush Toretz Yadav Lalakim. Kush will also want to bring a gift. So after Kush saw that we accepted the gift from Mitzrayim, Kush started to try it. Not a Kush called B'chem Batzma. Kush made their own called B'chem. Umahalolu shenishtabdu b'hen madech Mitzrayim, who actually tormented and enslaved Klal Yisrael. Kach, they were zoiche that their gift be accepted. Ani shaloi nishtabati b'hen like all shagain. Now they also didn't host them, but I think the Mashal says that they're saying that it should equal out. So we should also be able to give a gift. Utaka didn't host them, but we also didn't enslave them. Accept the gift of them as well. The pasuk continues. Kush Torah Yodav Lalakim. So now Rome, who's our brother, because we are both children of Yitzchak. We're Yaakov, and Rome is Esau. So Nasa Machos Remi Harsha Kavochem Batzma. Umahalolu Sheinachayen. Madich them, they're not even family. Kach, they accepted their gifts. Anu, Shanu Achain, we're family. Like Koshagan, surely they'll accept our gift. Amalek Alish Baruch Gabriel, Hashem told Gabriel, Ga'ar Chayas Kana. Get rid of them, I don't want their gift. Ga'or, so the Gemara Dash is Ga'or Chaya, get rid of the Chaya, meaning the Amalek, who Kandei Lach Eda, and take yourself, Klal Yisrael. I don't want the gift from Amalek. Dover Acher, another pshat, is Ga'or Chayas Kana. Get rid of the animal that's like the kana, that likes hanging out by the reeds. Shadara bein hakonim. That's the pig. The chsidi karsamena chazer miyar, the chazer from the forest. Viziz sadai yurena. He hangs around by the reeds. Amar Rab Chia bar Abba Amar Rab Yochanan. Ga'or b'chaya. Again, scold. Get rid of the chaya. Shechol ma'aseh nechtav b'kol masechad. All of their gezeres have one central theme: get rid of the Jew. That's their central theme. No matter what they write, whatever decree they sign, it always has some type of bad impact for Klal Yisrael. In Bnei Yisrael, the didn't name kulam. If you go to the most honest and just court, you're going to be found guilty in their courts. That's why he doesn't hold them in reeds. He holds it means the pen. The pen of the goyim is, by default, we always have to assume that they're anti-Semitic. Okay. Zog to Gemara weiter. Adas Abirim be'egle Amen. The nation of greats in the calves of the nation. What does that mean? Shachtu Abirim. These Goyish nations, they brutally slaughtered our Yidden kagolim, like calves, she'ein lam bailam, but don't have any owners. Misrapes baratzi kesef, they grab money, meaning shepoishin yad lekabel moment. Klal Yisrael over the years have given so many bribes to goyim to save them from murder. They know which one by them, and they're not even honest. They're not even honest murderers. You can't even trust them when you bribe them, because you bribe them and double cross you. Not only they're murderers, they're also dishonest. They don't even have the honor in being murderers, because when you bribe them and they tell you that they're going to let you go, they lie. Pizer Amin. There's even like levels of decency in murderers. Pizer Amin. The Klal Yisrael spread out because they wanted to be close. This is a moedik line. Mi garam lahem Yisrael shispazru leveinu umay. So what causes us to have to be spread out amongst the nations of the world and being golos? It's krevus shahayu chafetzim behen. It's because we wanted to be like the goyim. It's so counterintuitive. We think by blending in with the goyim, by being like the goyim, that'll make them love us. It's exactly the opposite. The more that we try to blend in, the more we're going to get ourselves into trouble. There's a very famous shtickle Meshech Chachma that was almost prophetic, where he discusses Ich bin ein Berliner. he says the Yidden in Germany identified more with Berlin than they identified with Yiddishkeit. Like in the Mishachma, he writes those words in Yiddish. Ich bin ein Berliner. And he said, if we're going to live that way, as Ich bin ein Berliner, we're going to get kicked out so fast, we're not going to hit us. And he wrote that many years before the Holocaust, and it was a prophetic type of shtickle that he wrote. There's 365, one per day, shvakim, marketplaces in the great city of Rome. And each one of these markets have 365 towers. They all 365 stairs. They didn't have elevators, so they were all in shape probably. And every step had in it huge oitris. So they had such a tremendous accumulated wealth that's mind-boggling. Who are these for? They're for you and for your chevra, which means even though we don't take gifts from them, but we'll just seize it from them. So the chavrusach, the Rashbam says, is l'chaver chavercha. They're for you and for your friends' friends. Shenemar, sachra, vasnena, kodesh l'Hashem, v'yetzer, v'layechsan, ki l'yoshvim l'Hashem yiyeh. So sachra vasnena, all of their stored and protected items will be kodesh l'Hashem. V'yetzer, v'layechsan, they won't be saved to the goyim. Rather, ki l'yoshvim l'Hashem yiyeh. And the pasuk ends off with Yoshvi l'fnei Hashem yiyeh sachra l'achol l'sova. It'll be for the Yoshvi l'fnei Hashem v'lemachasa otik. So let's see what this means. Zok the Heilige Gemara. My lo yetzar. What does it mean lo yetzar? Tani Rabbi Yosef. Lo yetzar ze beis oitzer. When it says lo yetzar, it means their food stores that they put away. It's not going to be for them. It's all going to be for Klal Yisrael. The Layechsan is referring to Beis Keniza. That's not where you store food. That's where you store precious items, jewelry, gold and silver. My Kil Yoshim L'fnei Hashem. What does it mean? It's going to be for the Yoshim L'fnei Hashem. Amar Belazar. What is a Yoshim L'fnei Hashem? That's a guy who comes to shul so often. Zehamakar Mokom Chaver Yeshiva. He's a guy who's always in the shul. If he's always in shul, he could know where everybody sits. You know, how many people can tell you in shul who sits where? Only somebody who's there all the time. He knows who sits everywhere, and that's someone who will be like. That's one shot. The other shot is it's someone who is makar of people, who's nice to people. So either sheyadei loy merzema complaining, but there's another shot. There's another shot that's brought down. I'm not sure if Rashi brings it, but it means someone who's nice to everybody. Yikudamri. Oh, I'm sorry. My cup is no good. The Gemara brings a second shot. Someone who respects everybody in the yeshiva. There's a very famous story I think it was in the Vilna Goyim's times, where a woman's husband disappeared for many years, and then someone came after many years and claimed that I'm the husband, and he knew everything about her and about her family. They didn't know what to do. So the Goyim said, take him into the Beis Medrash and ask him to point out which seat he used to sit in. And that he couldn't do. So they knew he was a fraud. Even though he knew everything about her, he educated himself, he knew everything about her, he couldn't remember which seat they sat in the Beis Medrash. They asked the Goyim, how did you think they say that? He said, someone who's coming with such horrible intentions definitely doesn't have his mind on the Kedusha of the Beis Medrash. So it shows where a person's mind is. If someone knows where everyone sits in shul, that shows where his mind is. Ma'ila machasa atik.
Not the person who came. The person who came at the moment was a fraud.
Right.
How did he know all this stuff? He knew all this stuff from the real husband who sent him.
Right.
That real husband had evil intent. And with that guy, he didn't have.
Lav Dafka. It could be he knew enough about the family, but he himself never ironed out that detail. And maybe the husband died.
I don't know how to say it.
Uh-huh. What's that?
I don't know how to say it.
That's right. Okay. Ma'ila machasa atik. Oh, the story is written that the original husband gave him that information? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Private matter.
Uh-huh. So the husband was trying to hurt his wife, make her be, wow. So,
his mind.
Wow. I hear. What does it mean, the one who covers over the ancient things? Zamachasev Dvarim Shekisa Atik Yoimin. This is someone who doesn't publicize and talk about Soidis Ator, which are not supposed to be discussed. It's the opposite. Zamagala Dvarim Shekisa Atik Yoimin. This is someone who uncovers things that are covered. So it's either referring to somebody who doesn't discuss things that shouldn't be discussed, or it might be referring to Talmidei Chachamim who uncover and help Yidden understand things that are supposed to be understood. Amar of Kaim Mishmar Bishmuel. Amar of Kaim Mishmar Bishmuel B'Rebeshi. My Dechsiv Lam Natseach Mizmar LeDavid. So Pashatai just Zamru sing Lemi Shenoitchin Oisai. To the conqueror, we're thanking David. So it's almost like Hashem is saying, I'm congratulating somebody who overrules me. And he's happy. Come and see. The Rebbeinu Shalom is very different than the Basar B'dam. If you overrule and you win over him, he'll be upset. He lost. You won over me. When you win over HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that makes Hashem happy. I wanted to destroy Klal Yisrael. If it wasn't for the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu stood in front, and he refers to Moshe Rabbeinu as Bechirim, as chosen one. So you see, Hashem loves it that Moshe was able to overrule and overpower the Rebbeinu Shalom to prevent the Rebbeinu Shalom from doing his will. My dechsiv, it says Videi Adam mitachas kanfeim, but it doesn't say Videi with a yud. It says Videi with a vav. The kri is Videi, hands plural, but the ksiv is with a vav. Yodoi ksiv. So what does that mean to teach us? Ze yodei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheperusa tachas kanfei achayis. Even though the chayos will prevent someone from doing tshuva, prevent someone from being accepted back, Hashem puts his hand around the chayos to protect them, to be able to shunt out the midas hadin and pull these people in. It's very similar to what the judges in America do to Democrats. They just shunt them out of the legal system to protect them. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. So corruption is geschmack when it's in our favor. And Baruch Hashem, with the Rebbeinu Shalom, we have it in. And he'll twist things around to in our favor. So we're fortunate. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Kol kesef v'zav sheba'olam. All of the silver and gold in the world, Yosef managed to get that all gathered to Mitzrayim, V'vil Mitzrayim. Shenemar v'yilaked Yosef es kol ha'kesef hanimtza. All of the money in the world ended up in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim became a major cash sink, a valuable sink. Ainly Elo Sheberetz Mitzrayim. It wasn't only in Eretz Mitzrayim, the Sheberetz Canaan and Hameretz Canaan, the Shai Rotzes Minayin. How do you know he was able to suck the wealth out of the entire world? So all of the cash of the world was assembled in Mitzrayim. And then when Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim, how convenient. The Rebbeinu Shalom created the scenario where all the money, can you imagine if we had to schlep around the world to make money? Today we have to run around the world to make money. Now Hashem says, you should go after money, let me bring all the money in the world to you. And you'll just conveniently scoop it up on your way out. So what is the word vayinatzlu? We cleaned out Mitzrayim. So there's two pshatim. Normally they would put grain into a net, which would attract, that would be the bait, and it would attract whatever they're trying to trap, whether it's birds or fish. A net that has no bait in it won't attract any fish, won't attract any karbonos. They emptied Mitzrayim out so bad that nobody had any reason to make a business trip anymore. No one booked their convention centers anymore. No one booked their hotels anymore because there was no reason to come down to Mitzrayim. They were so cleaned out that there was no more reason for anybody to come there on business, which tends to happen whenever we're thrown out of countries. Like when we were thrown out of Europe, industry there dropped off quite a bit because Klal Yisrael is a huge business attraction. It's just like the depth where there's no fish there, so it's not pshat that we depleted them from visitors that no one's going to even come there. It just means we took away their wealth. Now, what happened to all this money? Well, all this money remained in Klal Yisrael ad Rechavam till the times of Rechavam. However, then Boshishak Melech Mitzrayim, Shishak the king of Mitzrayim, and we had this Gemara a little while back. But not to Rechavim, and he got the money, he got the treasure from Rechavim. Shenemar v'ibishnas hachamishes lo Melech Rechavim, all Shishak Melech Mitzrayim al Yerushalayim, but he gets Oitzes Bes Hashem, there's Oitzes Bes Hamelech. And now we're going to learn the succession of where this great treasure, where this money is, and where it is today. I think today it's in Bitcoin. Zerach Melech Kush came. The Notla Mishisha. He took a Mishisha. Asa, the Notla Mizerach. But the Notla Mizerach Melech Kush. The Shigra, he sent it Ladriman ben Tavriman. Bo B'nei Ammon, then B'nei Ammon came, but Notla Ladriman ben Tavriman. Bo Shafat. And the response says these are all referring to different wars. Some of them are recorded in Nach, and some of them aren't. And the Gemara is telling us about them. Notla B'nei Ammon, V'yamunach had Achaz, then Achaz got it. Basan Cherev, V'notla Achaz, and Cherev took it from Achaz. But Chizkiah, Notla was Sancherev, because Chizkiah decimated the army of Sancherev, and Moshe made an ace. V'yamunach had Tzidkiah, and it remained by Klal Yisrael for a period of time until Tzidkiah. Then Bo Kastiyah v'natlu Tzidkiah. Bo Parsim, the Persians came v'natlu Kastiyim. Bo Yevonim v'natlu Parsim, and Bo Ramim, the Romans came v'natlu Yad Yevonim v'adayin Munach B'Roimi. The treasures of the world are still in the Vatican, which is a legend, right? We know that the Vatican has a lot of ancient treasures.
The Vandals and from all the other people who took it from Rome.
Uh-huh.
The Gemara is only contemporary.
Right, the Gemara is talking to its days. Things happen since then. Okay, Zok the Gemara. Yeah,
The
and then GameStop came. Then GameStop came, and then Robinhood came, and took it away from the hedge funds.
I just want to mention that the Romans conquered Eretz Yisrael in the year 70, and the Vatican wasn't built maybe till the year 400 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So there's a few hundred-year gap. Huh?
Uh-huh.
Christianity came to Rome in the year 330 approximately.
Uh-huh.
Until it developed and built the Vatican, 400. So there's
So the money had to go somewhere.
I don't know where it was, but I don't know how the Vatican got it.
I don't care where it was then. I'd like to know where it is now.
The Romans conquered the Yevonim. The Yevonim were Alexander. Alexander conquered Daryavesh.
But the truth is, even if you found all those gold sources, then nobody's interested in them. If I can't get it on my app, I don't need it.
On National Geographic, where Alexander the Great found $10 billion worth of gold. I made the cheshbon. It was $10 billion worth of gold that he found.
That's the amount of money that Joe Biden spends in a day. Wow. Gezakt the Gemara, Omer Reb Chama bar Chanina, Shalosh matmoiniyos hit min Yosef Mitzrayim. You know, in those days, money had more value because it was finite. Now that America just prints money, money is not finite anymore. Omer Reb Chama bar Chanina, Shalosh matmoiniyos hit min Yosef Mitzrayim. There were 3 hidden treasures that Yosef hid away in Mitzrayim. Achas neskala leKorach, one part Korach got. The Achas neskala leAntoninus ben Asvirus, who was in Rebbe's times. The Echas Genuzel Tzadikim Lasad Lavan. And 1/3 is still remain saved for the Tzadikim Lasad Lavan. The pasuk says, Oisher Shomer Lebol of the Ra'asai. Wealth that's saved for its owner that will harm him. This is the wealth of Korach, which caused him it actually brought him down. His wealth gave him the arrogance to stand up to Moshe, which was ultimately led to his downfall. Money that a person has is what gives him identity, it gives him stature. So that's why money is referred to as Yukum. Amr Levi, how much money was there? Listen to this. Now, right away, David always tells us that Shalosh Meis is a guzma, which is what the Rishonim tell us as well. Because whenever the Gemara uses the word 300, you know it's a guzma. But look at the guzma. Shalosh Meis Preidos Levanos. It took.
I think it's 400. By the way. I think it's in
300.
400.
Rashi says the response is lav davka. The chain kol Shalosh Meis Shabashas is lav davka. So it could be 400 is also lav davka.
Yeah, okay.
There's a 300 lav davka, then there's a 400 lav davka.
Okay.
Even exaggerations have their limits. You know, I can think of people in the shul, there could be an exaggeration like Ploini, and then there could be an exaggeration like Ploini. And all you have to know is what to divide it by to get to the real number. So Dr. Gemara weiter. So you had 300 white mules. Now the Rishonim tell us that what's up as white mules? They were wild, vicious animals. So not only were they transportation vehicles, they were a security force and a transportation force built into one. It took 300 donkeys to carry just the keys. Korach was so wealthy that it took 300 wild donkeys just to carry the keys. The klipi, every one of these keys opened up. The klipi opened up the galda, a huge sack. It's not shot. Each key opened up a small jewelry box. Each key opened up a ship container. So you can imagine how much wealth there was. So this talks about the Maimid when Shmuel came to anoint David HaMelech as the king. Now we know when he came to the children of Yishai, Shmuel himself didn't know yet who was going to be the one. Hashem was showing him as he went through a process there who would be the king. So I'm thanking Hashem because you saved me, Omar David. That's what David said. Evan Ma'asu Aboinim Haisal Rosh Pina, a stone that everybody was moyes, became the pinnacle, which is referring to David. Omar Yishai. That's what Yishai said about his child. Me'ez Hashem Haisazois. This is Hashem's will. Amru Echav. This is what his brother said. So I don't know how everyone must have been so musical in those days. How they knew exactly when to insert their part into the song. And Zehayim Asa Hashem Omar Shmuel. That's what Shmuel said. Ana Hashem Mashiach Amru Echav. The brother said, "Please help us, save us." That's what the brothers of David said. Ana Hashem Atzlichana Amar David. David asked for Atzlicha sheyitzliach b'malchusai, so that he should be matzliach with his malchus. Baruch haba b'shem Hashem. Amar Yishai. When Shmuel came, Yishai greeted Shmuel with the Baruch haba b'shem Hashem, and then Shmuel said, "Be'echnuchem mibeis Hashem Amar Shmuel." He benched all the children because when he came, everybody was benched because at that point he didn't know who he would choose. Keil Hashem v'yar lanu. Amru chulam. They all said this. Isru chag ba'avosim. We're going to tie up a carbon to bring as a carbon. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said this. Keili atav v'deka Amar David. Elakaya Mecca Amru chulam. Now it's very interesting what happened over there. It's brought down. What was Evan Ma'asu Aboinim referring to David HaMelech? It's brought down that Yishai, who was from the grandchildren of Rus, was concerned that maybe he is also Lovi Bekal. And because of that, he divorced his wife. And what did he do? He divorced his wife and he wanted to marry his Shivcha. And what he did was, because he wasn't sure if he's allowed to marry a Jewish woman. So what he did was, he divorced his Shivcha, he took his Shivcha and he freed her ala Tanai. He said, if an Ammoni is allowed to come into Klal Yisrael, then I'm freeing you, and you're a regular Jewish woman. I'm living with a Jewish woman. But if I'm not allowed to marry into Klal Yisrael, then I'm not freeing you, and I'm marrying you out Shivcha. So this way, he could live with his wife and be mutter. So that's the arrangement he made for himself. And what happened was, his Shivcha was so loyal to his real wife that when it came to have relations, she herself wouldn't do that to her master. She wouldn't do that. Imagine a goyte is so loyal to you that she wouldn't want to harm you. We need goytes like that. And what happened was, is when it came time to have relations, she told Yishai's original wife, "You go in my place." So he'll think he's living with me, but he's really living with you. And because of that, when she became pregnant, Yishai said, "That can't be my kid, because I didn't have relations with my original wife. I divorced her. The relations that I had was with my new wife." And David was born from there. So it was bewusst in the Welt that David was a mamzer, because David was born from Yishai's original wife, who became pregnant, but she wasn't married anymore to Yishai at that time. So they looked at him like he was a mamzer, until Shmuel came and selected David and clarified things. That's why it was Evan Masa Boinim. It wasn't Stam. David wasn't Stam, not the pinnacle of his brothers. They pushed him aside as a mamzer until it became clear that it was really from her father and she wasn't sleeping around somewhere else. and that's when David became Hoshel Rosh Pina.
But if they
So
were
that was
divorced,
a fascinating story.
if they were divorced, it'll still be an issue.
Or maybe he wasn't divorced. Maybe he didn't live with her anymore. Could be that was about, yeah. Could be he didn't live with her anymore. He only wanted to live with his wife, who he knew for sure he was mutter to. And then when she became pregnant, people thought that she had slept around, and then it became clear that it was really from Yishai all along. Okay, look at more about you. That's a fascinating story, and it comes out from these psukim. Tanad awesome. Magam shenago lichpoil. The psukim that our minig is to say double. You say a lot. Oh, it's 6:50 already. You better stop here. Okay, shkoyach. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Shkoyach, guys.
Shkoyach, Yosel.
Shkoyach.